Gandhi is back in his homeland, back in India, and he wants to continue what he started back in South Africa. He wants to do the similar things in his homeland in India. So he returned to India in 1914, and there were thousands of people that welcomed him back, as you see in the picture. The first year he spent just traveling all over India, and this time he's wearing his white cotton cloth. He's not wearing his suit anymore that he was wearing in South Africa and in England. And as he's traveling around, a famous man, Rabindranath Tagore, was the first one that called him Mahatma. And a lot of people think that Mahatma is his first name. But as we learned earlier, it's not Mahatma. What's his first name? What's his first name? Mohandas. Mahatma means great soul, and that's what Rabindranath Tagore started calling him. And that means. After his travels in India, he set up a community called the Sabarmati Ashram, and you see that in the picture here. In this community, families could live according to their Indian tradition. It was a simple, peaceful life. Everyone worked together in this community. They made their own clothes, they grew their own food. Whatever they needed, they grew themselves, they made themselves. Everyone was treated equally, no matter what position they were in society, what religion they were, whether they were men or women. For example, at that time, it was the job of the lowest class in India, the untouchables. It was their job to clean the toilets. Well, guess what? In the ashram, it was everybody's job. Everybody took turns cleaning the toilets, even Gandhi and his wife. And this is what Gandhi's room looked like at the ashram. Does it look like your bedrooms? No. You notice there's not much in his bedroom, just exactly what he needs, his bare essentials. His spinning wheel to make because they made their own clothes. He had his little desk for writing his letters, and he had his bed. Gandhi continued his efforts to get freedom for India, but on April 13, 1919, something very bad happened in Punjab. British soldiers fired on a crowd that had gathered peacefully to protest. The British soldiers blocked the entrance of the place, so the people had no way to escape. Hundreds were killed and thousands were injured. Gandhi responded to this terrible event by traveling all over India to get everyone to peacefully protest and to get the British to leave India. He told people not to buy things that were made in Britain. He told people to bring their notices that were put, like you see the one over here. The notices were put up telling people to bring anything that they had in their house that was made in Britain. Clothes, toys, anything that they had. And they would gather together in certain places, and they would have bonfires, and they actually burnt everything that was made in Britain. And that was their peaceful way of protesting. By now, the Indians loved Gandhi and started calling him Bapu, which means, does anybody know? What do you mean?
Oh, father.
Yeah, father. People began to trust his goodness and leadership and made sacrifices along with him to gain independence for India. One of the most unfairest taxes the British were collecting was on salt. In 1930, Gandhi and hundreds of his followers marched 240 miles from the ashram to the seashore. There, he picked up a lump of raw sea salt, and he picked it up in his hand, and he committed a crime. Because at that time, only the British were allowed to sell salt in India. Gandhi, along with his followers, was jailed. But soon, thousands of Indians began making their own salt and not buying the British salt. There wasn't much the British could do against peaceful protests such as this. When the British Army fought back with violence, it only made them look bad to the rest of the world. Getting rid of the British was only part of Gandhi's problems. He wanted all the Indians to think seriously about their behavior toward one another. He would often fast and go without food and water to draw people's attention, to get them to be kind to one another, and to be more tolerant. He wanted everyone to be treated equally, regardless if they were men, women, Hindu, Muslim, or any level of society. The British slowly started to give the Indians more responsibility for running their own country. Gandhi made several trips to England to negotiate with the British. A major civil disobedience movement called Quit India was launched, demanding the British give immediate independence to India. There was growing resistance in India. British attention was divided because they were fighting World War II at the same time. The British finally realized it was impossible to resist the Indian demand for independence. And on August 15, 1947, India finally became free of British rule. 6 months after independence, Gandhi was walking to prayers in New Delhi. A stranger came up to him. When Gandhi gestured namaste to him, the stranger pointed a gun and shot him. Gandhi's last words were, "Hey Rama, oh God." Gandhi was killed by a Hindu who could not accept his message of love and peace between Muslims and Hindus. Even after his death, Gandhi influenced and continues to influence important leaders today. I'm sure a lot of you recognize the faces that you see on the screen.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Leaders in the civil rights movement in the U.S., including Martin Luther King Jr., used Gandhi's writings to develop their own theories about nonviolence. Anti-apartheid activist and former president of South Africa, Nelson Mandela, was inspired by Gandhi. Well-known physicist Albert Einstein exchanged letters with Gandhi and called him a role model for generations to come. Even our own president, Barack Obama, said Gandhi was his biggest inspiration. And just a few weeks ago, when Obama addressed the nation on the first day of school, he was asked by one of the students, who was the one person, dead or alive, that he would choose to dine with? And he quickly responded, Gandhi.
Thank you, kids.
Yes, nonviolence is also called ahimsa. Yeah, good question.